Sorry, Mayor,
And
just one moment.
okay.
I'm just trying to make sure we're live. It's just taking a little longer than usual. Okay, the live should be coming any minute here. Okay, we're good.
Okay, thanks, Hope. Sorry about that. So the first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Late items, Hope, just the two of them? Oh, no, there were some more, I guess.
Sorry, I'm just gonna, can everyone we need everyone to be muted if possible, please, and thank you. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's really better. Okay.
Late items, we have a couple. They're item 6.2 of the agenda that we received 10 additional letters regarding Ecclestone, the DVP 2021-0020. And then item 10.1, there's a revised recommendation from the Heritage Commission minutes, as well as an additional recommendation that was just missed in the agenda regarding the work plan.
Okay. And those are both on 10.1, eh?
Yes, that's great.
Okay, I'll move the approval of the agenda as amended. For second. Thank you, Michael. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're going to move into public comments, and I'm pretty sure we have a large number of comments tonight, and I'm pretty sure everybody saw the notice that Hope sent out. So please try to keep your remarks to 2 minutes, and that would be much appreciated. Okay, thank you. And back to you, Hope.
Okay, the first speaker is actually, I don't think they're here, so I'll just go to the next. Gillian Darling regarding Ecclestone Public Stairs. And I'm going to start the 2-minute timer. I'm going to be semi-strict on this. So
all right. Thank you, Hope. Gillian, welcome. Gillian, there she is. There you are. Welcome.
Can't hear you. Can't hear you, Julie.
Okay,
There you go. There, okay.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
And as of Friday, there's yet another spanner in the works regarding what we now refer to as the infamous 30-foot path that our neighborhood used to access Ecclestone Beach with permission from property owners for about 100 years. More recent owners decided not to allow neighborhood access, then offered access in exchange for previous variances, then mysteriously didn't live up to those promises. And now, of course, Mr. Klauke is offering neighborhood access again, but only if he gets his variance application to build a private dock on our beach. But wait, since the early 1980s, there has been an easement across the same infamous 30 feet held by the owners of 1153 Ecclestone. They've now retained legal counsel and say they aren't giving permission to change the terms of their easement to include public usage. Once and for all, our community wants to put an end to the uncertainty about access and to ensure protection of the beach. This is completely doable with an alternative and practical solution that avoids this private property and stops the controversy. The public staircase plan, developed and paid for by the Friends of Ecclestone Public Beach, offers a clear solution for everyone, a win-win, public access for recreation and public safety on a beach unspoiled by a private dock, and no more conflicts with private property owners. There's no need for council to bargain away the values of the beach negotiating a variance. Our public staircase is consistent with the OCP mandate and is an ideal candidate for BIM's collaborative project designed to enhance public infrastructure. Our project is consistent with Bowen's new island plan, whose aim is to improve environmental and social well-being for present and future generations of islanders. 100 community members of all ages have voiced the importance of this beach to our community. Priority C3 of the island plan encourages collaborative projects like our staircase that align with the plan's aim to strengthen bylaws regulating docks on Bowen's beaches and the protection of shoreline. Ecclestone is also a community amenity accessed on foot via walking rights of way. We're proposing to work collaboratively with the Muni on the staircase, construction on a 50-50 cost sharing basis. The Muni portion will be comparable to the amount spent at Miller's Landing and Scarborough neighborhood beaches. The Friends of Ecclestone Public Beach will raise the other 50%. Thank you.
Thank you, Gillian. Oh,
Next, we have Heather Hodson regarding the same.
Okay, Heather, good day.
Hey, good day, everyone. Good evening, Mayor,
Welcome.
Council, and staff. Thank you.
There have been close to 100 letters in opposition to this dock variance application, and I don't believe I'm wildly overspeculating that there are hundreds more who have not taken the time to write to council, still hoping that the will of the people will prevail. Folks are busy, they're stressed out about many issues, but they do care about this issue as you deeply, as you know. Mannion Bay might be zoned for docks, but this one needs a variance because it still does not conform to our land use bylaw or our OCP or the mandate of the Islands Trust, no matter where it is placed, what materials it's constructed from, or whether it gifts the 30-foot path. Some of us are aware that in January 2019, this path was withdrawn from a variance agreement, which covenanted several structures built illegally on the public right-of-way. And I was there that night too. Undoubtedly, that misstep by municipality enabled the current variance application for the dock. Although many people who have written letters voicing their opinions have not yet visited Ecclestone Beach, we are united as a community in opposition on principle. The people opposed to this private dock are not the usual suspects, like those of us that stand here before you this evening, but concerned citizens from across the island who simply oppose granting this variance for a large private dock next to a public beach. We ask you not, yep, okay. I do believe the majority of our community will be enormously relieved and grateful when you put our bylaws and the benefit of the greater public good before the benefits of one family. We urge you to uphold the will of the community who have trusted you to listen and to fulfill your duty as mayor and council to protect the public interest and just say, no, thank you. And I'm sorry I'm in the dark, but thank you.
No problem. Thank you, Heather.
Next is Sylvain Zimmerman regarding the same.
Hello, Sylvain. Welcome. Do we see her anywhere? Is she in? Oh,
Can't hear you, Sylvain.
Don't see her name on.
can we go on to the next one?
Okay, yep. Next we have Leah Cline regarding the same.
All right. Leah, welcome.
You're muted.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm going to read cogent highlights from some of the more than 100 letters opposing this dock on Ecclestone Beach, written by the Bowen Island community. Hilary Butler, November the 14th. We have resided on Miller Beach for the past 40 years. We have often used the little beach off Ecclestone Road. It is a jewel. The population of the neighborhood is changing dramatically with the influx of young families who would love to consider this as their home beach. Judi Gedye, April 26th. One considerable consideration is that beaches are rare around our rocky shores. Marybeth Dean, May 27th. Ecclestone Beach may be postage stamp size, but it is a lovely destination for people in the neighborhood. A dock will not enhance it. Teresa Plowright, April the 25th. All I can really do is urge you to think of the public good, to ensure a public beach access, which hopefully in no way needs to be obtained by a deal that includes a huge dock that otherwise would not be built. Virginia Penny, November 15th. The public is everyone, not the unruly horde we are made out to be. Respect for the environment and for each other needs to guide your actions. And lastly, Tanis Lazel, April 26th, the access to Ecclestone Beach was because the owners allowed it. I swim there with my grandsons and my elderly friend. This 110-foot concrete columned jetty will impact the beach view and make it dangerous for swimmers trying to swim along this shoreline. The Klauke proposed system is not conforming to the neighboring docks on the north shore of Deep Bay. There is a bylaw that must be followed. Giving in for a puny path access to the beach is a bad precedent that will haunt the Muni. Please do not ruin our foreshore. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Leah.
Next we have Trish Jacquet regarding the same.
Trish, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So the owners of 1153 Ecclestone have tried to refrain from getting involved with lawyers. We have tried asking council to direct staff to meet with the owners of 1153 Ecclestone and have been completely ignored. However, after hearing staff is recommending to council to accept the DVP, we have now contacted a lawyer. This now makes 4 lawyers and is completely unacceptable for this small beach. In 1983, the owners of 1160 Ecclestone created an easement for the purpose of allowing the property owners of 1153 Ecclestone, who are now the dominant tenant, to access the beach for 38 years. This easement in question belongs to the land, province of British Columbia, not the owner of 1160 Ecclestone. The owners of 1160 relinquished their rights to that portion of land and are their servant tenant. The SRO private agreement between the owners of 1160 Ecclestone and the Bowen Island municipality in exchange for a DOC application is questionable and raises doubts about the legality. There has been no consultation from either party with the dominant tenant in how this private offer will affect the existing easement. As the owners of 1153 have said no to the DVP, the neighborhood within 100 meters have said no. Within 500 meters, as was suggested by a council member, and numerous members of the Bowen community have all said no. The DVP speaks for itself. 5 yes and a majority no.
8 seconds, Trish.
Okay, so let's hope the council makes the correct decision and community does not end up in another lawsuit like Kate Roger Curtis and others. This will be the undoing for the Bowen Island community. Thank you.
Thank you, Trish.
Next, we have Tim Klauke regarding Ecclestone Beach.
Okay. Hi, Tim.
There.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor Andrew and councillors. As per reference plan 16809, which you have, there is no exclusivity granted to the owners of 1153 Ecclestone regarding the path across our property. And secondly, in many letters you've received, the Friends of Ecclestone have voiced their demand to have what they label illegal structures removed from the foreshore of 1160 Ecclestone. They demanded that council pressure the province to enforce this. All along, the Friends group has insisted on a pristine natural shoreline at Ecclestone Beach, not wanting to see encroachments or a dock, even though our neighbors have one, and even though a view of docks is a feature of public beaches on Bowen. But now the Friends want to use these same illegal encroachments. They write that the lower cement pad footing of their staircase, quote, will be additionally protected by the mortar boulder wall that already exists. So these Friends want to ignore our property hopes because of encroachments and the, quote, illegality of our variance, but then they turn around and want to use those same encroachments on a project that also needs a variance because of its illegality. They also don't like our dock's concrete tower, but they're fine to make their own concrete tower. I trust council sees these double standards. Our neighbor's initial request was access to the beach, which I am proposing in my variance. The 75% of our foreshore that would be undisturbed up to the placement of our easterly placed dock would include 100% of the low-grade pocket beach, undisturbed, that the neighbors have purportedly used to teach their children to swim and launch their kayaks, becoming publicly accessible by land for the first time and remaining so in perpetuity. That safe and low maintenance access would be your legacy. Accepting my variance addresses neighborhood access to a beach using a simple solution, unless you choose to support, finance, and maintain a problematic staircase to justify not putting a dock in an area zoned for this purpose. When the community identified Mannion Bay as a region where docks were permitted, the community envisioned what is being requested in my application. It fits with the plan, which is why I applied in the first place. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Next, we have Bruce Steele regarding the same.
Good evening.
Hello there, welcome.
Hi. Good evening to Mayor and Council. I am opposed to this dock application for the following reasons. One, I spent my career in the yacht service industry for 35 years here in the Lower Mainland. There is absolutely nothing ecological about private yachts. What about the overboard sewer and the potential oil being spilled out of the engine room bilges? There is no sewer pump out system for for large yachts here on Bowen Island. Everything could go overboard. 2, a dock is a flagrant contravention of our current bylaws. Did we not learn anything from the debacle at Cape Roger Curtis? 3, this dock and its imposing length into the bay is a blight and an eyesore to service the supposed needs of just one family. It's not like it's public. This is for one family. 4, the overwhelming amount of people who are opposed to an ugly, shiny aluminum monstrosity being projected from the shoreline is at least 9 to 1 in opposing it. And what about the eelgrass and the taxpayer dollars that have been spent on protecting it and improving the Mannion Bay area? Why does one family have to use so much beautiful, unencumbered, rich ecological shoreline for their personal and, more importantly, seasonal use? 7, this council talks about doing things green. I see nothing green about a shiny aluminum monstrosity dock like those at Cape Roger Curtis servicing one family with a fossil fuel powered yacht. 8, it will have no economic benefit to any tradespeople on the island. And finally, there's a marina on this island where large boats should be if it requires a dock this large. Boats this size should be moored in Snug Cove. That's where big boats belong, not under our nose, disgorging sewer and effluent. How close is the
20
public?
seconds, Bruce.
I'm done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bruce.
Next, we have Brent O'Malley regarding the same.
All right. Brent?
Sorry for the delay there. Yeah,
No problem.
just echoing, thank you, Mayor and Council, and for putting up with so many of us. I just have to echo everything bar one comment so far that has been said. I am not quite sure why an application needs a development variance permit to begin with. When it contravenes the OCP, it contravenes the land use bylaw, it contravenes the Islands Trust policy statement. And I don't believe it's the council's role to just simply modify the OCP when one individual submits an application requesting that that variances be made. So I echo all of the statements that have been made so far. I see this as an affront and a mistake, and a legacy, frankly, on this council that that would not look that would not look very very kindly on it. So thank you.
Thank you, Brent.
Next, we have Rosemary Knight regarding the same.
Rosemary, welcome. Go ahead.
You're muted, Rosemary.
How many more months of COVID do I need to learn how to Zoom? Okay, good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here to raise my concerns about the staff report that is before you regarding Ecclestone Beach. I feel this report fails to accurately capture the public response you've received. What first caught my eye was the attempt to quantify community response by counting the number of letters. In the reported 8 letters of support, one that is counted is from legal counsel for the proponent. Such a letter should not be counted as a supporting letter. And then of the remaining 7 letters noted in support, 3 of the letters counted come from the same person. The more substantial concern is the way in which the content of the letters in opposition has been summarized in the staff report. The report states that the reason for opposition in many letters is because they believe, incorrectly, that the construction of the dock will block their current legal access. Well, I honestly hadn't heard this from anyone, so spent 2 hours yesterday opening links and reading all of the letters. I was able to find 7 letters, not many, 7, that can be interpreted as being confused on this point. So to state that many of the letters are mistaken in their opposition because of their lack of understanding of the situation effectively dismisses these many letters of opposition. This is a serious misrepresentation of what was communicated to council by the community. Further, there is no considered assessment of the actual reasons given by community members for the opposition. In conclusion, I find that the staff report fails to provide balanced and accurate coverage of this complex issue needed to support council deliberations. I feel that this report should be pulled and rewritten and discussion of the variance permit deferred. This report is not useful to you in your decision making. It is not accurately conveying the message from the community. The message from the community that has been sent to you is from a well-informed community.
Rosemary.
Not confused, is supported by thoughtful reasoning, and is very clear. Reject the development variance permit. Thank you.
Thanks, Rosemary.
Next, we have Gail Lautenberg regarding same.
Where is she?
Gail, we can't hear you.
Doesn't look like she is here from what I can see. So we'll go to the next, Ian Thomson regarding
Thomson.
same.
Welcome, Ian. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor Ander and Council. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak, and I'll offer respectful comments very briefly. I'm opposed to the issuance of a development permit in this case, and I really go to the big picture on this as a resident of more than 20 years. So in the first place, a property owner is seeking, whether initiated by the municipality or not, approval of a structure that is non-conforming with the law. Some benefit to the community is attributed to a potential departure from the law. A community group proposes a solution that keeps everybody in compliance with the law. This proposal maintains the aesthetic and other values and practical use of the beach. It doesn't deprive the property owner of any of their rights as they are laid out in the law. And I think I am at this point surprised that it has been dragged out to this point. The municipality appears to be going to considerable length to provide an exception to the law when there does not appear to be a need. I'm not clear on what the benefit to Bowen Island would be in this regard. I am concerned that precedent be set with respect to precious waterfront and access by the public to that waterfront. And I think it sends a discomforting message to a community group that has gone to considerable lengths to come up with a practical solution. And it's my hope that the municipality can work toward the solution with that group. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ian.
Next, we have Maija Tiesmaki regarding same.
Maija, welcome. Go ahead.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. And as I speak to you, I do have a toddler at my leg, so apologies if you hear some singing. I'm not breaking into song, but maybe I will be by the end of this, who knows. So I am speaking today as a full-time resident of Miller's Landing, representing the next generation of young families who call Bowen Island home and this neighborhood home. And I've written a letter regarding 1160 Ecclestone and the DVP, which is currently before council, and that expresses my views in more detail. So I will keep my comments brief in the context of this, because I know there are many speakers who are very well informed around this issue, but really just wanted to come before you to reaffirm my desire as a community member to see the solution proposed by the Friends of Ecclestone Beach put into action. You know, as you know, Ecclestone Beach is one of the only sunny beaches within walking distance of Miller's Landing and the place we call home. And we visited this viewpoint on many occasions and really see the potential for this place to be a really special spot for our family and for our community. So I'm asking you as council members and as mayor to please uphold the land use bylaws and the OCP that protects the public interests and our critical coastline ecosystem, and enable community members like myself and my family to safely and freely access this rare public beach and the associated waterfront. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Maija.
Next, we have Bruce Russell regarding same.
Welcome, Bruce. Go ahead.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening, council, staff. Bruce Russell, 69-year resident of 303 Robert Road, which is 3 properties to the west of the applicant's property and the Ecclestone viewpoint. I urge council to accept the planning department's report and approve the application. Please do not allow yourself to get distracted by the attempt to portray the viewpoint as a beach. which it is not. The mere change of the word viewpoint to a beach cannot possibly overcome the lack of physical attributes or the impact and control Mother Nature has on this small log-covered area, which has very challenging and unsafe access. I speak from 69 years of experience. I think I've been around that beach probably more than most of the people put together. I became involved in the support of the application because of my concern that possibly some of the municipality's scarce financial resources would be used in any way, and my interest was piqued when I first heard that the Friends were proposing to incur 100% of the cost for the engineering, fabrication, and installation of metal stairs at the base of the access trail to overcome trespass problems. That suggestion is most impractical for a number of reasons. And most importantly, the location of the stairs are directly in line with the vicious southeast storms that pummel the beach with logs all year long that will absolutely damage the ill-placed stairs on a never-ending basis. Most recently, I was disappointed to learn that the Friends have changed their offer to finance 100% of the supply costs to a request that us taxpayers incur 50% of the costs, which they estimate to be a substantial $38,000 for our taxpayers' share. In the absence of final engineering drawings or formal pricing, we all know what happens to budgetary pricing on the island. The sky is the limit. I suggest that with the approval of the Planning Department's report and recommendations to approve the DVP application, that will provide the Friends their legal access they desire to the Viewpoint Beach at no cost to our taxpayers, which I suggest is a very win-win situation. I thank you.
Thank you, Bruce.
Next, we have Nerys Poole regarding same.
Nerys, welcome. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak once again in opposition to the DVP. I've sent in letters and spoken previously on the importance of protecting this little beach for the public enjoyment. Tonight, I want to focus on your responsibilities as councillors. We've had many surveys on this island, and there's one consistent message. Islanders value our natural environment, including the marine environment and our beaches. The beaches are critical assets for so many who don't have the luxury of owning waterfront properties. So why would council grant a DVP to a single landowner in the face of the public outcry? Why is council not upholding the public interest in this amenity, the public beach for this neighborhood? I refer you to section 1 of the community charter, which gives you the authority to determine the public interest of your communities within a legislative framework that supports balance and certainty in relation to the differing interests of their communities. Where is the balance here? Under this same section 1, you're given the authority to provide effective management and delivery of services in a manner that is responsive to community needs. How are you being responsive to community needs if you grant this DVP? Section 7 of the charter notes that one of the purposes of a municipality is to provide for stewardship of the public assets of its community and to foster economic, social, and environmental well-being of its community. I fail to see how granting the DVP to a private landowner will protect this public asset, the small beach that is enjoyed by many in the neighborhood. And when it comes to the individual responsibilities of councillors, I quote from section 115 of the community charter. It is to consider the well-being and interests of the municipality and its community. In the face of so much opposition, I think your only option is to say no this evening to the DVP application. Thank you.
Thanks, Nerys.
Next, we have DG Blair regarding same.
DG, welcome. Go ahead.
Welcome. Thank you. And thanks very much for the opportunity to speak. I will be brief. I am adding this to further my comments to previous comments to council about the 1160 Ecclestone dock application. So I would ask you to consider the following points. Contrary to the June 14th staff report, I, and I believe many others, are fully aware of the implications of this DVP proposal with regard to historic access, and we still oppose granting of this variance for a dock. In my day job, I work with West Coast Environmental Law on a number of projects, and note that staff counsel, Deborah Carlson, who Friends of Ecclestone Beach have liaised with, is a BC expert in shoreline management policies and practices. Therefore, her statement, RE, that the upland owner has the right of first refusal on that portion of the land is not true. And I ask that council considers this along with the rest of her legal comments. RE, potential damage from marine debris. Turand Engineering is a respected engineering firm and is providing their report to professional standards by structural engineering standards. And they indicate that a structure can be built to accommodate sea, state, and surges. Further to my comments in previous council meetings, the stairway alternative will not impede coastal sediment and habitat to the degree that a dock will, and as such has significantly lower ecological impacts. I really want to make the point to please listen to your constituents. Approximately 80 Bowen Islanders have written letters to oppose this dock as compared to 8 in favor. And these numbers do not even include people like myself who have not submitted a letter but have spoken against it. So given all that, council should reject this development permit variance as its proposal is not within the community interest. And I urge the council to work with Friends of Ecclestone Beach to develop that alternative proposed staircase. Thank you.
Thanks, DG.
Next, we have Franc de Ferriere and Andre Chollat.
Welcome in, Frank and Andre.
Okay, it's Andre first.
Okay, Andre, go ahead.
Greetings, Mayor and Council. Once again, the interest of a private resident is challenging the well-being of a great number of residents of the same neighborhood with the construction of a very large dock adjacent to a well-used local beach. Not only am I opposing the granting of a variance to build that dock, but I'm opposing I'm also disturbed by the attitude of some of our officials who seems to be ready to accept, to give that variant. Docks were the necessity of properties that had no access by land in the past. Today, most properties do not need docks, and believing that it is a right of seaside property owners is an anachronistic aberration. It is not because you have the means to do it that you are morally entitled to it. I urge Mayor and Council to do the right thing for the community and not to grant that variance. Thank you.
Thank you, Andre.
So I'm Anne, I'm taking my time. So
Sure,
that's okay. I am confirming for a second time that I am strongly opposed to a dock at 1160 Ecclestone. This access to the ocean was created in 1912 by Mr. Mannion as he was developing this district lot. And the access has been used since then. The access to Ecclestone Beach was used as a beach since then, as land, as Bowen Island was only accessible by sea, and cottagers used the beach as a beach. And they had no access by land transportation because there was no land transportation for other beaches. For many of you have accompanied your children and your grandchildren to the Coho Bon Voyage. The volunteers of the Bowen Island Fish and Wildlife Club have a very strong bond with all the salmon that they have raised from egg to fry. And it is always a joy to release tens of thousands of fry in Bowen Island Creek and the lagoon. As fry, they have to stop in the Manion Bay eelgrass beds to grow and be ready for the ocean voyage. As you know, every blade of eelgrass is an important nursery for baby salmon in their day and in this day and age of collapse of the salmon fishery. And now, by allowing a dock to be built in an eelgrass bed, you are denying a safe place for salmon to grow. And in so doing, you are not supporting the work of the volunteers.
20 seconds, Anne.
Yes, the Bowen Island Fish and Wildlife Club. To conclude, it is important that you fully support the work of the volunteers on Bowen Island of the Fish and Wildlife Club, and that you deny the dock at 1160 Ecclestone. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne.
And next we have Richard Wiefelspuett regarding the same.
Richard, welcome. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak again to the Ecclestone Beach Dock. I have several issues with the staff report regarding item 6.2 of today's agenda, and I've spoken before against the amount of time and money invested in legal opinions obtained to vilify innocent beachgoers. And nothing in the past weeks and months have really changed my mind on this matter. However, and to my very own surprise, I would like to congratulate staff for presenting Mayor and Council with a viable alternative for the consideration of this application. I'm speaking about alternative 3, which reads that Council reject DVP 2021-020 and that Council directs staff to work with Friends of Ecclestone Beach on a collaborative project application for the proposed staircase to access the foreshore below the Ecclestone Road allowance. This is the only sensible option on the table. Alternative 3 is sensitive to the community and demonstrates a strong commitment to the vision, mission, and value statements in the Island Plan 2021. Alternative 3 empowers the municipality to provide a self-directed and independent solution that will provide continuous access to and enjoyment of Ecclestone Beach by the general public for generations to come. How good is that? Compare this to the statutory right of way offered by the proponent with strings attached, such as the municipality will place and maintain signage at the trail indicating that the use of amplified sound, fire, liquor, glass beverage containers, and cooking on the beach is prohibited. To me, this is patronizing and insulting to those who have stood up in great numbers to protect the integrity and beauty of Ecclestone Beach. I urge Mayor and Council to move, second, and vote for alternative 3. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Richard.
Next we have Jeb Gutelius regarding the same.
Okay.
Hi there. Thanks,
Hi, Jeb.
Mayor and Council and staff for letting me speak. I currently live at the bottom of Miller Road at the Salmon Creek, and I'm moving up with my small family to right above Ecclestone and Millard. And I just wanted to express my hope that you don't approve this variance. As a young family coming into that exact community, we hope that you stick with the bylaws as they stand. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeb.
And last but certainly not least, we have Judi Gedye.
Judi, welcome.
Hi, and thank you very much for the time and the opportunity. I would like to echo, without repeating, all of the comments that have been made that are contra to the Ecclestone DVP. And I think that my takeaway is that I want to probably thank staff for the last 3 controversies that have been before the council in terms of this one and the cidery and the IDLC. The process has created an enormous amount of interest and public participation. And I think that that's maybe the only really good thing that's coming out of this. What I really would like to talk to you about as well is what's on your agenda with respect to heritage. As you might know, I've been involved in the heritage issues. I am a member of the Heritage Commission, but I'm not speaking now in any way representing the Heritage Commission. This is my own spin on this. you're about to meet or you have some contact with Metro with respect to their upcoming plans for Davies Orchard. And I would like you very much to take a very, very strong position with them that we should be very disappointed with the position that they're taking. A couple of years ago, they had promised that there would be money available and budgeted for what was a heritage proposal. That was against the staff recommendation, but they accepted what our council asked for. They, in fact, our
seconds,
council
Judi, please, thank you.
suggested more, but their priority has not been stabilization, only demolition, and they're coming back with more demolition. We've worked hard to get the registry, and I think that they need to be somehow or other brought in line in terms of respecting our heritage. So
thank you.
I'd like you to take a tough line with them. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Judi.
There's one more speaker, by the way, Lesley
Okay,
Gaunt.
go ahead.
There's one more speaker, Lesley Gaunt.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I don't have her on the list, but please go ahead.
Yes, you confirmed her email earlier.
Oh, then I just forgot to put her down. Please go ahead. My apologies.
Okay. Hello, and yes, I'm Lesley and a property owner on Bowen Island, and I oppose the DVP application for 1160 Ecclestone Road. It is not clear to me why planning staff is so invested in making this dock application work out. The notes in the staff report on the letter count opposed to this DVP and a private dock crossing a public beach strike me as half a truth and the manipulation of facts. Why does the staff report critique the many letters and public comments received in opposition to the dock? And why does the same report exaggerate the number of the few letters received in support? By all accounts, Bowen Island has spoken out loud and clear against this dock and is speaking out tonight. No interpretation or attempt of manipulation of the facts can change this. Voting in favor of the proponent's self-serving request for variance upon variance upon variance to get their self-absorbed needs met creates an unwarranted stress point for the community of the kind that will end up traumatizing generations of innocent beachgoers, past, present, and future. The wrong decision tonight will create separation. A valuable public beach that has connected the community will be destroyed, and the public good gets sacrificed for private interests, and the community's safety will be lost. I urge council to listen to the voices of your community. Thank you.
Thank you, Lesley. Now, anybody else out there that would like to chat? Last chance. If not, I would like to thank everybody for their participation in here, and also thank you for your respect of the time limits. That was great. All right. As at the end of the public comments, we will move on to the consent agenda. And does anybody in council have anything they'd like to pull out of the consent agenda from clarification, that sort of thing? I don't see any hands up. So I would recommend that council approve the items as outlined in the June 14th, 2021 consent agenda. I'll move that. And I have a second with Michael. All in favor? Aye. Okay, great. Thank you. And
Mayor, before we move forward, can
Yes.
we just ask that everyone who came for public comment to move on over to our YouTube channel would be great.
Yeah,
It's
thank you.
available
Thank you.
on the agenda. It's also on our website. That'd be great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Hope. Okay, so we have no delegations and we have no items removed from the consent agenda. So we're going to move on to business arising from the minutes. And 6.1 is a development variance permit, DVP 10-2020, 1149 Senator Road. Daniel Martin, Manager of Planning and Development, dated May 28th, 2021. Daniel, over to you. Thank you. No, not getting it.
How about now?
That's better. Thank you.
Okay, I just have a quick presentation for this DVP that I'll go through.
Okay.
Okay, so before you for your consideration is DVP 10-2020, 1149 Senator Road. This property is located in Deep Bay at the end of the cul-de-sac on Senator Road. There's an existing residence on the property, and the variance permit that is before you is a variance to vary the front lot line to allow that front of the building to be enclosed to be an entranceway for the existing house on site. As part of the application, they are relocating an existing shed out of the road right of way onto the property that doesn't require a variance, but is part of the application. So just really quickly, the application had 4 initial letters of support that came with the application. We've received 1 additional letter of support as a result of the notice. It's included in your agenda package. So the staff recommendation is that council issue the variance permit for this addition at 1149 Senator Road.
All right. Thank you, Daniel. And I'll open it up to council. Michael, I have you there.
I feel, Gary, I feel when we reviewed this before, the same way as I felt then, that I support this. It seems a very sensible and quite simple solution for these homeowners. And they're obviously going to some lengths to accommodate us as well in just a general improvement of their area. I think it's fair to say, Daniel, this is a small addition to a very regular sized home, and obviously designed to make the occupants more comfortable. And I certainly support their application and their variation, and I hope they're successful, and I hope they enjoy their improved property subsequently.
Well, thank you, Michael. Anybody else? Okay, Sue Ellen.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Ander. I normally vote against most DVPs, but this one is a little different in that it's small. It's not only a small home, which keeps it within our diverse housing objectives for Bowen, but the variance they're asking for is also small. It's a small triangle, 3 meters reducing by 1 meter, or the other way around. Sorry, it's only a 1 meter variance as I understand it. And staff, please correct me if I'm wrong. There's a red triangle in the earlier staff report, April 26th, that shows it. I like that the shed is moving off of the right of way and that the neighbors support it. And it seems reasonable to me. I support this DVP.
Okay, thanks, Sue Ellen. Yes, it's come up before, and I'm happy that the neighbors are the ones that are going to be mostly affected by this, even though it is, like you say, a very small adjustment. And I think because the neighbors are in favor and they're the ones that are going to be affected by it, I'm happy to move it along. So the recommendation is a council issue development variance permit DVP 10-2020 for the variance of the side setback to 2.0 meters for a new addition for 1149 Senator Road, legally described as Lot 6, Block 6, District Lot 490, Plan 11393, PID 009-078-860. I'll move that.
Second.
And I see Michael again down there. And for the second, all in favor? Aye. Okay, and opposed? No, we're good. Okay, thank you very much. And we'll move on to 6.2, and that is a development variance permit DVP 2021-002.
Thank you very much, everyone. As homeowners for 1149, we just wanted to thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay.
Appreciate that.
Okay.
Developments variance permits DVP 2021-0020 1160 Ecclestone Road, Timothy Klauke and Rosemary Toy. And that's to Daniel Martin, Manager of Planning and Development, dated May 31st, 2021. Daniel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a slightly longer presentation for this application. I'll put it up on the screen here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so for your consideration tonight is a DVP, a variance application for 1160 Ecclestone Road for the construction of a private moorage facility. So just by way of locating ourselves, 1160 Ecclestone is on the north shore of Mannion Bay in the Miller's Landing neighborhood. So you see it here, 1160 Ecclestone, adjacent to the undeveloped road allowance for Ecclestone Road. And the dock itself would be proposed to go into the WG1 zone. So that's the common water general zone that surrounds Bowen Island. So I've just included an overview of the zoning here. So our water general zone starts with an information note and talks about how the zone is intended to provide public recreation opportunities, preserve and protect natural qualities, and provide regulation of recreational boat moorage associated with upland uses. This zone then goes into, has detailed setbacks and detailed conditions of uses. So among other things, it requires a setback from any lot line of 1.5 meters, a setback from a property line projection of 10 meters. It requires a setback to another dock of 10 meters, and it requires a setback from a property line projection of any lot abutting public beach access of 10 meters. And those two setbacks that are bolded there are both subjects of variances at tonight's meeting. Further, then the land use bylaw goes on and has conditions of uses for private moorage facilities. And so I've listed them here. So it requires that it be accessory to upland residential use. It limits it to one per upland lot. It has a number of conditions that it can't divide a beach. It can't impede pedestrian access along the beach portion of the foreshore, can't limit or restrict public use of the beach, negatively impact eelgrass meadows, beds or patches, or impact kelp beds, clam beds, or mussel beds. There's a maximum size and a maximum width and a maximum length of private moorage facilities. And so again, I've bolded the part of the application that's the subject of the variances to that it would impede pedestrian access along the beach portion of the foreshore. So they're those three variances that are included in the variance permit that's for your consideration. I have just through the presentation a few of these just general site plans, giving an overlay of where the application lies. And I'm just going to skip through this one, showing again just that proposed dock plan proposed on that rock outcropping on Ecclestone, on 1160 Ecclestone, and then a section of the dock itself is proposed to fit within our land use bylaw size regulations. And just this is just taken from the as part of the 10-year application, just an overview of the site from the water looking north. And then so the DVP as drafted would have conditions. So a condition would be a completion of a statutory right-of-way agreement for permanent public access of the public municipal road allowance to the public beach. It would require provincial approval of the dock proposal, and it would require a number of conditions that come out of the environmental report submitted as part of the application. So that statutory right-of-way would run from Ecclestone Road, or the undeveloped Ecclestone Road, down to the area identified as Ecclestone Beach. And it would sort of follow an existing path on the site. And this is again showing, this is from a survey provided by the applicant, showing the rough location of that statutory right-of-way in relation to the municipal road allowance and the property line as it exists. And again, this was when the application was introduced, so showing just an overview of the blue line being where the statutory right-of-way would run from the municipal road allowance to the beach. So since this was introduced, we've obviously had, and even before this application was introduced, we've had significant public feedback on this application. And so as of when we last updated this, we've received what we counted 11 letters in support of the application and 105 in opposition, so roughly 10 to 1. And at a number of council meetings, again, we've had speakers and probably in that same ratio of support to opposition. Letters of support will have support generally for owners to construct docks, and we'll express concerns, as one of the speakers did tonight, about the alternate public beach access proposed by way of the staircase. Letters in opposition to the dock are concerned about the impact of the proposed dock on views and use of the public beach. It'll restrict access to the beach in the foreshore area, impact on the environment and the marine ecosystem, and impact on the historic and heritage landscape. So I think you've heard all of those concerns in the letters, and you've heard them again tonight. We've heard as well tonight from neighbors about concerns about the proposed statutory right-of-way, and from Friends of Ecclestone Beach about a preference for an alternate public beach access. So next I wanted to touch on, so as Gillian presented tonight, the Friends of Ecclestone Beach have put forward a proposal for an alternate access, for a way to access Ecclestone Beach from the municipal road allowance. So this is included as an attachment in the report, and further details are outlined in a letter from Gillian Darling of Thursday, June 10th, after the report was completed, but included in your agenda package. So the plan is for a staircase to come from the Ecclestone road allowance and down, hooking around 1160 Ecclestone, and landing on that rocky outcrop that is in between the lines identified on the survey as the natural boundary according to plan and the present natural boundary. And then you see in blue the beach access point, so a further staircase then going down in the rocks themselves to access Ecclestone Beach. That plan from Turan Engineering provided a diagram showing how the beach would run to its landing point, and then a side shot of the staircase showing how it would descend that height. So the Friend of Ecclestone Beach proposal, I've just included some excerpts from that letter that are included in your agenda package. So Friends of Ecclestone Beach have funded the reports to develop a public staircase plan. They estimate the cost to be between $30,000 and $58,000. Sorry, they propose a 50-50 cost sharing, and they propose the municipal cost to be between that $30,000 and $58,000. With the other 50% of expenses to be contributed by the community. And the Friends of Ecclestone Beach letter, or the letter from Gillian Darling, anticipates that the staircase to be durable and long lasting. And so then in that letter again is proposed a cost breakdown. So costs coming from the Bin municipality, as well as a split of funding from either granting or donation sources. And you'll see in the report some of the staff concerns with the proposal. So concerns about potential for damage and concerns about maintenance and replacement costs of the staircase, as well as concerns about the siting of the staircase between the present natural boundary and the natural boundary according to plan. So like a recent conversation with Flinroe, indicated Flinroe would likely require a letter of consent from the owner of 1160 Ecclestone as part of the application for a dock, or for a staircase, sorry, that would descend in front of their property, but that hasn't been confirmed, I would say. Staff comments on timeline. So the staircase is not expected to be completed until the summer of 2022. So there will be a lag between when council would direct staff to start working on the project and when we would see the staircase put in. And then finally, the staircase is not in a capital plan. It's not in our parks plan or a capital plan for 2022. So as part of the budget process, council would have to prioritize capital projects if this was a higher priority than existing projects planned to take place. And then this was presented to you at the introduction of the application. So this is staff looking at financial considerations of the statutory right-of-way that's proposed as part of the variance. So looking at what do we estimate our costs of trails? What are our estimated costs of beaches and neighborhood beaches? So annual maintenance budget for the statutory right-of-way and trail would estimate at about $116 a year on average. And obviously that average moves a lot year to year depending on what happens to happen, but that's our estimate from the parks plan. So the staff recommendation that's in the report is to issue DVP 2021-0020 for the construction of the dock and the implementation of the public right-of-way at 1160 Ecclestone. The alternative would be for council to reject the DVP and council direct staff to work with the Friends of Ecclestone Beach on a collaborative projects application for the proposed staircase. So that brings me to the end of my presentation. So I'm open for any questions council may have.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Daniel. It was very thorough. And just for a confirmation, the the applicant is, there's been some question about whether that's a legal application. He has a legal application and a legal right to apply to put that dock in on his property. Is that not correct?
Anybody can apply to FLNRO for a private mortgage facility. Under the Local Government Act, anybody has the right to apply for a variance permit or for a rezoning. Council may reject an application before sending it out for notice, or they may issue notice and reject it, or they may issue notice and accept it. But any landowner has the right to apply for development applications on their property.
Okay, thank you. And the reason that we've gone to a development variance permit on this is not to try to skirt anything, but in fact to move the dock over so there would be more room at the ocean entry place there. Would that be correct?
So one of the variances is to reduce the distance from the road allowance property line projection from 10 meters to 6.6 meters. So it has the effect of moving it closer to the undeveloped road right of way and further from Ecclestone Beach itself.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And just for a confirmation, if this were to be approved and went to the provinces, would turn down the right of way, would still be registered. Is that correct? Or not?
It's a condition of the variance permit itself that we issue the statutory right of way.
So it's all part of the variance.
It's part of the variance.
Okay, appreciate that. Okay, so I saw some hands. Michael, did you have?
You've actually just asked the question that if this is granted for absolute, to use somewhat legalistic language, so for total certainty and to avoid any confusion, that if this is granted, the right of way is granted at the same time. If at any time later, if FLNRO refuse it or the owners decide not to proceed, the right of way is still guaranteed by the applicants, is my understanding. That should we grant this variance, that is the end of the discussion about the right of way. It is granted. And I don't know quite, I can't put it any more firmly than that, but I think, Daniel, just your confirmation that that is the case, please, because it has been a subject for some discussion.
It is a condition of the variance. We would have to return then with just the motion for council to enter into the statutory right of way.
Okay.
So that motion isn't before you, and neither is a motion in terms of a response to the province on the Crown land referral. So we were referred the Crown land referral for the dock tenure, and we've requested a variety of extensions on the Crown land referral while we decide on the variance, and as the variance consideration has been deferred. So following council direction on the variance, we'll be bringing a report then looking for council direction to the province on the overall Crown land referral.
All right, understood. Is that good, Michael? Okay, thank you. Allison?
I mute myself. I've got quite a list of comments here. I went through the OCP, and the OCP recognizes that there will be private docks and moorage on the island. I mean, it talks about the importance of the marine environment and preserving a marine-oriented community. Well, docks are part of a marine-oriented community. And then in section 2.8 in the environmental section, marine resources and foreshore, and policy 76 clearly addresses docks. It says private moorage and docks are subject to the following, and the condition: private moorage will not impede pedestrian access along the beach portion of the foreshore. Where that dock is going is not a beach. It's foreshore. And then it also says the siting of new private moorage will be undertaken in a manner that is consistent with the orientation of neighboring private moorage. This dock is parallel to the neighboring private moorage in similar height and size, and is sensitive to the views and other impacts on the neighbors. There's only one neighbor that can see it, and that's the house immediately to the west of 1160 Ecclestone. And it's a long way from the other side. I don't think you consider the other side of the neighbors. And then the land use bylaw has a bunch of conditions, most of which I think Daniel has gone through. And I would argue that they don't need a variance for access for the setback from the road allowance because, well, it's a DVP for if it's allowed, but the road allowance of Ecclestone does not access a beach. It accesses foreshore, doesn't access a beach. And if we had denied the DVP, then they can put the dock closer to the beach. So the DVP is actually in benefit of the community. And WG1 allows docks. There is nothing in the land use bylaw that would prohibit this dock. The variances are all for the benefit of the community. So, and I think people need to realize that. I was quite concerned to see that the proposal is now asked for the stairs, is asking us to pay half or part of it. And interestingly, the report from the engineering firm, he doesn't unequivocally say the stairs are good. He says appears to be feasible.
Yeah.
You know, so that's not a glowing recommendation in my mind. And aluminum stairs would get damaged by the logs. Steel stairs, the logs will take off the finishing and the steel will start to rust. People that have objected to it, I find it quite incredible that people that have docks have objected to somebody else having one. The other thing is we signed a license of occupation with the province, and Article 5 of that occupation, Article 5.1 sub C, but it very clearly says you agree with us that, us being the province and you being the municipality, other persons may hold or acquire interests in or over the land granted under so forth. So it clearly contemplates other docks or other water leases, and it lists all the existing leases as being, you know, they're not impacted by the loo. And other comments I've got, it doesn't impact the access to the beach because it isn't a beach where the dock is and people can walk under it. The visibility issue, there already is a dock that's visible from the beach, and this one will be parallel to it and roughly the same size. So you'll sort of see the two, it's not bothering the visuals from the beach. And the existing easement for 1153 is not an exclusive easement. So we can grant an easement, get an easement between the municipality and the property owner. And then the stairs themselves. I mean, there's no way I would consider going down there. If you tripped and fell, you land on, you'd kill yourself. And there's steel, and landing on steel is hard. And would you think about trying to go down there with a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old or something, you know, and going down those stairs? They're just not safe. It's just not practical. And we've already got an existing easement that is going to be easy to look after and easy to access for anybody. So I'm quite in support of the staff's recommendations.
Thank you, Allison. And David.
Thank you, Gary. Thanks, Gary. Now, obviously, this is a really difficult issue before us. There's so much emotion here. We've got so many letters, so many people speaking at this meeting, at the last meeting. You know, this is a tricky one because so many people, lots of whom are my friends, are expressing very strong views, and we can't please everybody. But I'd like to make several points. So first of all, my priority here, one of the important things I think we need to do on the island is to maintain and improve wherever possible our residents' access to the ocean. You know, we've got nearly 4,000 of us. Most of us aren't lucky enough to have waterfront properties, and so we need other ways to get to the ocean. We've got community-wide beaches, you know, Tunstall Bay and so on, but neighborhood beaches are a really important part of our life. Neighborhood beaches that are usually accessed through rights of way. And maintaining those rights of way are a really important duty of our local government. So I want to make sure that this public right of way gets us not just to a viewpoint, but to this lovely little beach. And I will speak highly about this beach. I've visited it 4 times since this issue arose and looked very carefully at all the proposals before us. A second, to this point, unfortunately, our local government has not done a good job protecting this right of way. There have been incursions from the properties on both sides and without any compensation whatsoever, even though that was promised a few years ago, but then somehow it was withdrawn and taken away. Thirdly, I'd like to thank the members of Friends of Ecclestone for all the work and effort they put into testing the feasibility of another way to access the beach. And as we all see, we've got their proposed plan in front of us. So now we've got two options to consider, aiming at giving us permanent access to this little beach from the public right of way. But in my view, only one of them is really feasible. The proposed staircase will be extremely expensive, obviously, but most important, it doesn't get to the beach. I've visited the site a lot. I've looked very carefully at where that would land, and it lands in a rough, rocky part of the intertidal zone. And getting from that spot to the beach would be a challenging walk across really tricky rocks at the best of times. At high tides, it will be underwater and potentially dangerous, a place where you get your ankles broken or scratched and so on. For many people for people who are really agile, this would probably be just fine. But for most people who are not particularly agile, it simply does not work as a comfortable, safe access to this lovely beach. So I'll be supporting the staff recommendation because that will give us permanent access to this pocket neighborhood beach, not just for, and this is really important, not just for the people around right now, but for all the generations to come. And we talk about First Nations look at planning for 7 generations. And that's the way we need to look at planning for our island. And this is a permanent way to have access to this beach. Permanent, simple, easy access to the beach. Now, I know this compromise means we'll also have a second dock right beside the current one, and some people are objecting to that. I understand that. And while I personally would rather not have an additional dock, the trade-off, permanent access to the beach, to me makes it worthwhile. So, Mr. Mayor, I am supporting the staff recommendation, but I just want to say finally to the Friends of Ecclestone Beach, I'm sorry that I don't believe your proposal is supportable. I know how much work you put into this. You've tried your best and you gave it everything. So thank you very much for your work. And I'm really sorry that I can't support it. So thank you very much, Gary.
Okay, thank you, David. And Sue Ellen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would also like to thank all of those who've submitted their public input. It's great to have such public participation in our democracy. And I'd like to thank staff for bringing forward a proposal that before we knew about the staircase would provide public access, because that was something that the community, through various volunteer groups, including the former Greenways Advisory Committee and then the Parks, Trails and Greenways Committee, had recommended that council direct staff to look for alternatives to get to Ecclestone Beach. And here we are with 2 alternatives. So I'd like to thank the Friends of Ecclestone and all the people who've been working on the alternative proposal. For me, I think alternative 3 is the way to go, and I'll explain why. Because I think that while a land access might be safer, more easy, the trouble is that having that extra dock and the boat, presumably that would be beside it, would limit or restrict public use of a beach. That's another part of our land use bylaw, right down below the would impede pedestrian access along a beach. And I think that this variance, if it's going to be passed, should include that it does, because I think it limits. A dock and a boat would limit or restrict public use of a beach. And I say this because I'm thinking of Eagle Cliff Beach, one of the small beaches at Eagle Cliff, where decks were built above the beach, and it did restrict the use of that beach. You feel like you're on private property now. It doesn't feel public, open, free, welcoming as it used to. And that was a deck behind, not a dock and a boat in front. which would block the view. I think it might block the sun. Part of the people talked about the sun late into the day, the sun all day long. And I think it would restrict people scrambling around on the rocks, which I also think are part of the beach. I know different places around Bowen, this idea of what is a beach comes up different times, and people find nooks in the rocks, they walk on the rocks, they look at nature in the rocks, they find nooks to sit in and read and look at the sky and talk to their friends and think about their thoughts and commune with the island and the world and their spiritual beliefs. People have all kinds of reasons for going to the beach, and it's all not always the flattest, safest swimming part of the beach. And so I think rocks are beach. So my reasons for rejecting would be, as I've said, I think it would limit and or restrict the use of the beach. I think fewer people would go and use it if it had that dock and boat there. I think it would restrict access and use by swimmers because they couldn't swim along. Kayakers as well. I think it would have a negative impact overall on the beach users' experience and the numbers of them, because I think it would shrink the practical size of the beach or the usable size of the beach, just because people would get squished together. And as others have mentioned, in the future, there will be more beach users. And as the island grows and as new families move into Miller's Landing. It's called Miller's Landing because it was water accessible only back in the day. That's why it's got all those great right-of-ways and people can walk to the beach as they've told us that they do. So other things that I think would be negative impact and reasons to reject, the shading, wildlife. I've seen sea lions there. I've been down there a bunch of times and I look from the other side. Anchor chains dragging on the sea bottom as the float moves up and down with the tides. The feeling of, yeah, I mentioned that. Okay. Reduced sense of spaciousness. It's an already constrained beach. I don't think we should be making it smaller. We have a license of occupation there for that whole Mannion Bay, Deep Bay. Started back in May 2010. This is a report from the CAO back in those days, and the whole bottom half is about efforts they were making to try and manage boats in the bay, Canada's shipping, vessels in distress, pollution, and directed staff to bring back the cost, staff resources, impact analysis for land tenure, trying to get municipal control over the foreshore of Sandy Beach and Pebbly Beach back in the day. That's where it started. That was all about the social and ecological integrity, trying to restore it. So now we've got eelgrass plantings and things underway for that, what is actually an estuary for the creek. It's a very productive wildlife area for birds and things like that. And I think council's efforts over the past 10, 11 years have been to try and volunteer groups to try and restore the balance and the productivity of the natural world in and the environment and the ecology there. Okay, I think I've mentioned a bunch of this. Active design guidelines, this being able to walk down to the beach and families and being able to move around fits with our current active design guidelines for walkability. We have a neighborhood that's volunteering to come up with the dollars. Now, they don't have it yet, but this neighborhood, out of all of the neighborhoods, I don't know of another one that's offered to share the costs of a beach access. I think that's really constructive and fits with our collaborative projects policy. We have lots of other beach accesses that do have stairs. And so I think here's another one. I like the creative approach. Can't read my writing, sorry. Future possibilities for funding ongoing maintenance could be like the Eagle Cliff floats, which they have a special tax requisition. They pay a little bit more on their taxes every year, and the municipality maintains that float as a community dock. That's another potential application that someone could make rather than a private dock, just for the future, in case these things don't work. The community interest, I think, is where my heart is. And I think for people moving to an island, I think people come, as somebody mentioned about all the surveys and the official community plan. The main top dominant themes were the green island, the green oasis kind of place where you could get connected to nature and feel like you were on the island, and affordable housing, which this helps in terms of you don't need a car to get around. You're close enough to the cove and that kind of thing. You don't need parking. It's not a car-oriented structure. Anyway, for all those reasons, and because of our long-term planning, I'm going to be happy to move alternative 3 when people have finished.
Okay, thank you. Daniel, you had something to say?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to correct what I said earlier about the statutory right-of-way. So the applicant has confirmed that it's not conditional on the provincial approval, but they would be offering it regardless.
That's
if
correct.
The variance permit is granted.
Could you say that again? I didn't get that.
Sorry, I was saying that earlier I had said that the variance in the statutory right-of-way was conditional on the provincial approval, but the applicant has confirmed and had confirmed to the previous planner before she went on leave that they would be offering the statutory right-of-way if the variance is granted, but not conditional on provincial approval, but regardless.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Michael, I see your hand again.
Yes, I appreciate that bit, Daniel, because I think you said better what I was trying to clarify before, but thank you. Like everybody here, I've reviewed this very clearly, and I'd like to kind of follow up on Councillor Hocking's approach in terms of safety. Just the very trail down through the woods from the road itself is quite challenging. It's not just the proverbial walk in the park. When you get down there at the end of the trail, anyone just looking to get to this pocket beach would follow the trail, what would appear to be the trail, even though it's not marked as a trail, straight down towards the larger part of the beach. That is just where your eye takes you, and that is where you go walking. The fact that it is through private property, and we've had the discussion about private property in this area, but that is the reality that council is dealing with. It is private property. It's not a matter of debate. Talking about safety, I like Councillor Hockey. I am really concerned that if that staircase were to be built, it would then deposit people on the way down when they get to the bottom of that staircase in a very small segment of Ecclestone. Now, I was timing the tide, high tide to low tide, and taking photographs by the hour. And it's about 7.5 hours, give and take, from high tide to low tide. Well, allow 50% of that time, shall we say 4 hours. And if you are now at the bottom of this tiny part of Ecclestone, you then have to traverse over into the sea, around that extension of rocks into the major part of the beach, or whatever we decide to call it. Or if you're in the major part and you find tide coming in, you now have got to get into the water and scramble around to get back to the staircase to get back up again. That is utterly hazardous. Those rocks are slippery, they are sharp, and they are a hazard. And I cannot be in any part of advocating for anything that puts people, and I'm thinking of people with their families, in that situation. I just cannot. That is not conscionable. And I would say this to the proponents of Ecclestone Beach, and I likewise, you have to thank them for the time and the effort they put into this. But at our last meeting, at our last council meeting, I was definitely under the impression, and I don't know whether I didn't read some small print, but I was under the impression that the Friends of Ecclestone Beach were covering the total costs of this staircase, rightly or wrongly. I was definitely under that impression. Well, that doesn't appear to be the case. It now appears that we are going to be 50% partners, or however we organize the deal. And let's assume that if we take the figures mentioned, you're talking about a dollar figure that goes into tens of thousands. The use of this beach, or the use of Ecclestone Pocket Beach, or whatever we want to care, is minimal, And if I had known this at our last council meeting, I wouldn't have said, yes, let's defer to hear the proposal, if I knew that we were picking up 50% of such a large amount, plus the ongoing maintenance charge for a very, very small amount of users. When you speak to people who have lived in that area for many years, regardless of their opinions about beaches, about docks, about anything else, they will confirm that this small area has very minimal usage, largely local, and fair enough. Why not? But that is not a sufficient reason to expend this amount of municipal dollars on a one-off and then following basis. It just doesn't make sense. I have reviewed the planner's report, and I recognize as fact that I think there's been some conflation of issues, that we are talking about one specific dock here. This variance before council is about 1130 Ecclestone. We do not have the subject of docks generally around the entire Bowen coastline generally. This is a specific issue. And whilst I understand some of the passion and the opinions, I am certainly going to support this variance, because I am not prepared to put this at-risk staircase, people at risk. And I think common sense dictates that going through what is now private property is the only safe and secure way onto the larger part of this area. So I support this. I support this variance, obviously with difficulty, because one appreciates the emotion attached to it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Michael. And over to you, Rob.
Yeah, thanks, Gary. Yeah, when this variance first came to us, I was actually not in support of it. I had some issues with it. Generally, I very much value the natural shoreline. I'm a big kayaker. I kayak in that area, and I have voted in the past, sometimes in the minority, on the one on the north end of the island for no structures along the water. So I very much appreciate the importance of keeping the natural beauty of our shoreline, and also the variance, as Daniel has now confirmed and Michael has brought up as well, was attached to the approval of a dock, and I was not in favor of that. I thought that would have been a big mistake, and I would not have approved for this variance with that stipulation in mind. And that stipulation has been removed. We will have access to the beach by the current path going down there if this variance is granted. And the proponent is still going to need to go to the province, and they're going to have to get approval for that. And it's my understanding that if they can actually move the dock closer to the beach without the variances that we could grant them. So in a way, the dock could actually be a bigger problem, or visually be closer to the beach and have a more visual impact on that. And again, that's assuming that the dock will get approved. That's an assumption, and I think that's where the community feedback, especially to the province, should be going on whether this is appropriate for a dock. And I'm not sure it is an appropriate location for a dock, but that's not what we're here voting on tonight. I looked at the staircase proposal, and hats off, like David brought it up. Hats off to the community for putting that together. I've put together proposals like that, and it's a lot of work. And proponents and people coming back to us with options is something I really appreciate. Instead of just saying no, 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 people actually came back with, here's a proposal. I was surprised to hear about the cost to the municipality. Originally, it was said that it was going to be fully funded by Friends of Ecclestone Beach. But now it looks like we're going to be doing a cost sharing a portion of that. And, you know, $50,000 is a 1% tax increase. And that's what we're looking at right now. So that's significant. I know we went through taxes this year, 6-point-something%. And it's just going up and up. And the cost of that is definitely a concern for me. Also, the visual impact. I mean, that staircase is going to have a significant visual impact on the shoreline, and it will have potentially maybe even more environmental damage. There'll be some trees that need to come down. There'll be some concrete that needs to be poured on the rocks and whatnot for really access that is a lot less ideal than the current access. And as you know, Councillor Keel brought up, there is a natural flow into that area. And I do want to thank staff for that site visit, because that was an eye-opener for me. Originally, I was under the impression it was just a little portion at the tide line that people were egressing on the private property. But when staff actually put out the private property lines along the road right away, there is significant egress of people going onto private property. And I was blown away by how much it was. It was much more. And my big worry is that, you know, the private property owner just puts a fence down there and we have no access to the beach whatsoever. And again, there's no certainty that this staircase will even get approved by the province. I think we'll have very similar issues to deal with that the private property owner will need to deal with if he is to get the dock in the location that they're looking for. You know, the letters 10-1 definitely leave me concerned about my vote, because, you know, it's a lot. That's a big ratio. And I do think, you know, when we're granting variances, and I don't think this is a big variance in context to the other variances we hand out, but 10-1, that's a big number. But I also think that people aren't aware of the full situation on site. And, you know, as some councillors here have gone multiple times, I've gone a bunch of times too, I've changed my mind. I've went from, you know, not supporting it to now saying, you know what, out of these two options, I think any reasonable person would go with the staff recommendation. And I trust staff, and I know they've done quite a bit of work on this and their expertise on this as well. So I'm going to be voting with the staff report.
Okay, thank you, Rob. And Maureen.
Thank you, Gary. Daniel, I wonder if you could bring up the PowerPoint slide with the recommendation and the alternative again, please. Okay. What I'm wondering about is the potential revision of the recommendation to include a reference to the statutory right-of-way explicitly in the recommendation itself. And I don't know if this is the correct wording, but just listen. It's something along the lines of subject to the concurrent registration of a statutory right-of-way allowing public access to Ecclestone Beach. Is that the language you would use to accomplish what I would like, which is to ensure that we are not in a position where we have no statutory right-of-way and we've issued a variance?
Could we see that recommendation again? Doesn't it mention it in there? No way.
No.
It says implementation of a public right-of-way, so I was thinking that was.
Let's see it again, Daniel.
Sorry, Maria, I just lost it for a second.
Yeah. Is that clear enough?
So Maureen, I mean, it really has both of them are in there.
Yeah, they're there.
Do you think that covers it?
I mean, I would say Maureen.
Beach access.
Daniel.
That's probably more, it's probably more explanation than most of our DVP motions. Like normally if we have a condition in the variance, we don't mention it in the motion itself necessarily. We would say we're issuing the variance permit, and then one of those conditions is to enter into the statutory right of way.
You've got that's conditions in the DVP, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we would pull the DVP if we didn't get the right of way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the explanation. I'll withdraw that.
All right, well, thank you, everybody. My comments are much the same as before we went down this the road with the alternate staircase, which I still believe, and I said at the time that I wouldn't burden the taxpayers with that as an ongoing maintenance. And now we be burdened with it also as a part of the actual construction of the staircase. I was a little surprised and maybe a little disappointed in the letters that there was a lot of errors, misrepresentation in the letters, and I don't think that was I thought that was unfortunate, and it took a lot of credibility out of the letters. However, having said that, I still say that I don't think the staircase is going to work, period. And I said that before, and I certainly don't want to put the taxpayers on the hook for maintaining it and or building it. I certainly wouldn't recommend that. And we have a perfectly good option here with a dock that is perfectly legal, and that all is crystal clear through the planning department, et cetera. So I will read the recommendation. The council issued development variance permit DVP 2021-0020 for the variance of a lot line setback, beach access setback, and public beach access for 1160 Ecclestone in the Crown land covered by water immediately adjacent thereto, legally described as Lot B, District Lot 1911, Plan 12596, PID 008842027. And I will move that.
Second.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
The recommendation that's in our council agenda is not what we were looking at a few moments ago.
Oh.
I was just about to message Daniel. I noticed that as well.
Oh, okay. Well, let's
slightly
thank you for that.
Slightly different.
Daniel?
Yeah, there's no mention of a statutory right of way in this recommendation.
So can we have a friendly amendment and add the other little bit that was in the
Absolutely.
staff report?
Are you trying to bring that up, Daniel?
I was just looking at the difference, and yeah, I would just say we add and the implementation of a statutory right of way.
Yeah.
Following public beach access.
Okay. Have you got that, Hope?
Can we see it on screen for the public, please?
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
Hope's or Daniel's?
Whatever we're voting on.
Daniel's thought put into Hope's recommendation.
Sorry, so this second one is what Gary had moved.
Yeah.
So I would add it here, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, so the second, we're ignoring the top paragraph and it's the second paragraph. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Okay, I will consider that a friendly amendment. And is there any further discussion? Okay, I can't see the hands up, unfortunately, there, but okay, Sue Ellen?
You're muted.
Thank you. Just for some clarification, I think it might have been my fault that the 50% cost sharing is in, because it was my suggestion that they approached the municipality about this collaborative projects policy, which is a way for community groups to work with the municipality on public land. And that's when that 50% came in. So I'll take that if you want to think badly of I don't think that's the group decision at the time. That was because I suggested it, or we suggested it. It was in a meeting anyway. I contest the idea that use of the beach is minimal. I think we've got a successful pilot project that's been running for 100 years, and people in their letters have told us that they've been using it, walking down to that beach all the time. It's hard to tell how much use the beach gets because right now there is no legal access. People would have to trespass. So for the past 6 years, use of the beach has been paused. And I think, visual impact is not only the neighbors, it's also other members of the public who come to the beaches and the foreshore all around Mannion Bay, and perhaps to the higher up on the viewpoint, higher up on the beach access, what is now called the viewpoint. And I think all of this, the safety stuff, I mean, this is like mountains without handrails. You have to assume that people are going to step off of the flat ground and climb around on the rocks. That's what they do. And they climb around on the mountains of Bowen Island as well. And I think my idea here is that we can take it step by step, defeat this DVP, and then step by step see how staff and the neighborhood group can work together and come up with a proposal. I don't think we're in a huge rush, and I think this would give the neighborhood, the community, and staff time to work together, give the neighborhood a chance to raise more funds if that's what council wishes. And I'm speaking for the group here. I'm not part of the group, but hearing what council was saying, and to find other options for the long term. I'm concerned that we're making a decision where the community group has only had a short time to get ideas and proposals in place, and council is going to is looking at a recommendation, a motion to end the process by granting the DVP, and I think it should take more time. So I'll be voting opposed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? I'll ask a question. All in favor? Aye. And opposed? Councillor Fast in opposition. Okay, thank you. Does pass. And we're going to move on through the bylaws on to staff reports. 8.1. Development variance permit DVP 2021-0041 1228 Ocean View Road. Laura Friesen and Philip Dion, dated May 26th of 2021. And I guess that's Daniel. Oh, it's Emma. Are you on?
I'm here.
Okay, that's great. Emma, the community planner. Thank you, Emma. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm just going to start share screen. Hope that's showing up for everyone.
Yes, thank you.
Great. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is an introduction for DVP 2021-0041 and 1228 Ocean View Road. Just a quick introduction. This property is located in the Miller's Landing neighborhood of Bowen Island on the east side of the island. It is zoned settlement residential 2. It is about 1/4 hectares in size. And as you can see from the contour lines, this lot has quite a bit of steep topography, especially along the frontage along Ocean View Road. The lot is actually accessed through an easement that goes along the northern neighboring properties, as shown in orange here. The property itself contains an existing house as well as a wooden parking platform structure. The platform is constructed on top of a fairly steep rock bluff. Here you can see photographs from the site. The top photograph is taken from the top of the bluff, and you can see the platform here with the railings and the house in the background. The lower photograph is actually taken from the lower yard looking up at the platform, and you can also see the house on the side. This photo is from the driveway, which, as you remember, is at the top northwest corner of the lot. And this is the house here with the parking platform actually behind the wooden shed. This is an artist rendering of the proposed garage and workshop building for this application, which is to be built on top of that existing platform. The building itself will be 2 stories, approximately 480 square feet in footprint, and about 6.2 meters in height. So to facilitate this proposed building, the application is asking for a reduction in that rear setback from 7.5 meters to 0.8 meters, so that the existing wooden platform can be used as the foundation for the proposed garage. Main reasons cited in the application for this variance is that given the steep topography mainly, the site constraints leave very limited building areas on the site, especially areas that are accessed from the driveway, which it would need to serve the use of a garage. The only other buildable site really is where the existing house sits. And since there is already the existing platform, the application also submitted an engineering letter that verified that the platform is structurally adequate to support the proposed building. And given the terrain, the impact to neighbors is expected to be little to no impact. The nearest existing house is to the north, right about here. And as you can see from the site photograph on the left-hand side is actually taken towards that house to the north. And as you can see with the terrain and tree coverage, you really cannot see that neighboring house. So there will be very little view impact from the proposed building on the platform. The second picture on the right-hand side is taken from the platform looking out towards the east and the south. That neighboring lot is actually not developed, but as you can see from the photograph, it's a bit fuzzy from the sunlight, but the terrain drops significantly after this parking pad. And with the tree coverage, if there were a house to be built on that site, the proposed building would really not impact their views. 2 letters of support were submitted as part of the application, one from that lot to the west as well as one to the south. Given the site constraints that really do not offer any alternative viable sites for the proposed garage, and the fact that there is an existing platform in a suitable location that could be used for the proposed garage, and that there appears to be little to no impact on neighbors, staff is recommending that council go ahead with public notice for this application, DVP 2021-0041.
Thank you, Emma. Any questions? It's pretty straightforward. Well, I don't see any hands up there. So the recommendation is that notice be given the council will be considering the issuance of the development variance permit DVP 2021-0041 for the variance of the rear setback for 1228 Ocean View Road, legally described as Lot 31, Plan 1948, District Lot 1553, PID 014-191-580 at the July 12, 2021 meeting of council. And that council authorized staff to give notice for the consideration of the issuance of development variance permit DVP 0202-10041 in accordance with Section 499 of the Local Government Act to all properties within 100 meters of the legal boundary of 1228 Ocean View Road, legally described as Lot 31, Plan 1948, District Lot 1553, PID is 014-191-580. I will move that. And a second, please, Allison. And further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, that is unanimous. Thank you very much, Emma.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
All right, take care. 8.2 Development Variance Permit DVP 2021-0047, which is 1082 Miller Road, Snow Cove House. Daniel Martin, Manager of Planning and Development. Dated May 20,
Mr. Mayor.
2021. All yours, Daniel.
Excellent. I'll just share my screen again here. So I'm back again to talk about a development variance permit for 1082 Miller Road, which is the Snug Cove House project, with this variance permit for introduction. So by way of refresher, 1082 Miller Road is located as part of the adjacent to Foxglove Lane, and so close to the cove along Miller Road, just below the Bowen Housing Corporation co-op. So the zone is, it's an area 2 of CD15, which is a comprehensive development zone, which permits up to 24 units of supportive housing. The zone has a maximum lot coverage, maximum height, and setbacks of 4 meters from the front line and 3 from the side and the rear lot line. Council in January of 2020 issued a variance for this property for the proposed development. And that variance dealt with largely the building footprint, the building form. So it increased the lot coverage. It allowed the height to be still within that 14-meter maximum, but greater than 3 stories in height. It reduced setbacks of the buildings, allowing the north side where there's no immediate neighbors to go into the setback for the parking garage. It allowed the roof overhangs to extend to cover the balconies. It allowed for columns and elevator shafts to go into the setbacks, and it reduced the front setback, the front lot line setback as well. And in February of this year, Council directed staff to draft a license to enter and occupy over the municipally owned Lot 2 to the north to permit regrading work as part of this development and to allow additional daylight to enter the north side of the building. As the applicants have developed and sort of refined their building plan, they have requested 3 additional variances that are sort of accessory to the building, but are for pieces to do with the development that would also require variances. So they're proposing a retaining wall along the north property line to be higher than permitted within the setback. And they're proposing a cedar trellis at the front entrance and a cedar fence enclosing a generator in the front yard, both of which would require variances. So in the submitted site plan, you see on the north property line, that retaining wall runs along the length of the north property line. And then at the front of the building are the cedar trellis and the fence around the generator. And I just have a north elevation. So this would be looking north from municipal lot 2, with the black dotted line being the proposed line of the retaining wall. And then at the front, you can see the proposed fence for the generator. So the permit as proposed would include these 3 requested variances, and then it would also include the variances that were issued in that earlier DVP that was issued in January of 2020, and that's because basically a variance is valid for a 2-year term. So it's scheduled to expire in January of 2022 unless construction takes place. So including those additional variances in this permit would extend the time that construction to take place until July of 2023. So the recommendation is that notice be given that this variance permit will be considered at the meeting of July 12th, 2021.
All right. Thank you, Daniel. That's awesome. I just I looked at that for quite a while, and how close does that come to the actual property line, the big tall wall? Because what it's doing is that's only a 66-foot road allowance out there, I think, for us, and that will certainly impede any future development on there. Like the sloping of the yard or that lot. I noticed in that one in that one picture there, it actually, if we put a road in there, it would impede the roadway. Not that I think we're going to put a road there, but
I mean, it's a very, like, I guess, challenging lot between the various grade changes.
Yeah.
And so you're right, likely, like, if we were to lower the grade to the height proposed for the road, I don't know if it would instead just mean that we would be removing the retaining wall, because really the retaining wall is to retain our lot 2 from their lot, if that makes sense. Like the Snow Cove House building is lower than our lot 2. And so if we were to lower our side as well, we'd probably be lowering the retaining wall as part of that work.
yeah, I guess you could look at it that way. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And then it would be nice. Do we have a graphic of the front side with those? I mean, obviously it's going to be nice. You want to hide that generator and the other accoutrements at the front there. Do you have a actual elevation on what that would look like?
I have
what the street appeal would be like. I think it would be all right, but it'd be nice if we had something to look at.
Yeah, I put the north elevation in my presentation, and I had included the building plans in the report. I'm not sure what I'll be able to find. Right
Okay,
now.
don't worry about it.
You could get that for the next presentation, right?
Yeah,
When we actually vote on-
absolutely. Yeah. So anybody have any questions on this? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, give these guys everything they want just so they can go ahead. Make sure it happens. They're already postponing another year, I guess.
Yep, I would like to see this done. I don't want to be facetious, but while I'm still around, so anything we can facilitate.
So you can move into
You got 20 or 30 years left.
Well, yeah, I mean, I say I do not want to sound flippant, but yes, anything, please, that would get this project, which goes back certainly way, way, way past my memory. Give them all the help we can. This is a much needed facility, and do all we can to help these good folk achieve their objectives.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Sue Ellen, did you have something?
You're muted, Sue Ellen.
Sorry, it wasn't, the button was sticking. I was just going to say, I don't think it's so important for us to offer our aesthetic, I guess the word would be opinions, especially mine is not particularly useful. I just think if this is what they need to get construction happening, I'm in support. I'll make the motion if you like.
I got Maureen, and then you can make.
My question follows up on that. Is this what they need to move forward? Or are we looking at further variances down the road? Daniel, and that was not intended to be cheeky. I really was. Are they ready to go?
Oh, you've frozen.
There he is, back.
Oh, you're back. We didn't hear you.
I'm sorry, and I caught the tail end of what Maureen said, and I didn't hear it.
I was just curious if this is what they need in order to proceed, or if there is your sense that there might be further variances in our future. Would they be able to proceed to construction if we approve?
I would definitely hope so. I mean, I think I would say I was probably disappointed that I have to bring the same property back for additional variances, but I understand it's part of them refining their development proposal as they've been working with various granting organizations. So my expectation would be that there would be no further, but I can't guarantee that.
I understand. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Maureen. Allison?
Does this have to go to the advisory design panel?
Related changes to the development permit would have to go.
So the question about the screening and what it's going to look like would all get covered off by the design panel.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. In terms of those
Okay.
details.
Yeah. And have they been to the design panel already?
It was issued a development permit based on the initial plans, and so it will be need to be amended. They've applied for that amended development permit as well.
Okay.
There's a letter in there also from Robert Wood that will be attended to, I guess, Daniel?
Yes, and I believe there's been further communication. So we had advised the applicant to reach out to neighbors, and so they've done that, and they've received that initial response from
Robert.
Yeah, from Robert. Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. Okay, anything else on this? All right, so Sue Ellen, go ahead on the read then.
Okay, thank you. I would like to move that notice be given that council will be considering the issuance of development variance permit DVP 2021-0047 for the variance of setbacks for retaining wall, cedar trellis, and fence for 1082 Miller Road, legally described as Lot 13 Development District Lot 490, Group 1, New Westminster District Plan, EPP 77831, PID 030526931 at the July 12th, 2021 meeting of council.
Oh, yeah.
And that council authorize staff to give notice for the consideration of issuance of development variance permit DVP 2021-0047 in accordance with Section 499 of the Local Government Act to all properties within 100 meters of the legal boundary of 1082 Miller Road, legally described as Lot 13, District Lot 490, Group 1, New Westminster District Plan, EPP 77831, PID 030526931.
Perfect, I'll second that. And further discussion? No, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, that's unanimous. We'll move on to 8.3, resolving two encroachment issues. 817 Hummingbird Lane, retaining wall in the municipal road allowance, and 1689 Woods Road, private utilities and a municipal road allowance. Patrick Graham, Director of Engineering. Hello, Patrick.
Hi.
And so yours.
Okay, so following up on the council meetings we had in April and May, where we talked about the encroachment at 205 Highland Trail, part of the information provided there was a list of outstanding encroachments that need to be resolved. And so we're bringing forward two here that in our view are fairly straightforward. So the intention is to resolve those as well as to get some input from council as to whether these are the types of encroachment issues that require council involvement or perhaps could be executed at the staff level. So the first one is a rock retaining wall along Hummingbird Lane. There's several properties along that Hummingbird Lane stretch that have fairly steep access and have essentially rock retaining walls constructed in order to make the driveways work, make the driveways doable. So 817 Hummingbird Lane, there's an existing rock wall that was built. They were given a permit to occupy the municipal road allowance in 2002. They're applying for a building permit now for a garage and a new driveway access permit's required. They would like, we've given them assurance that there are no plans to change any of the configuration of the driveways and rock walls. They would like assurance in the form of a legal easement agreement. And so we are recommending that council direct staff to enter into that agreement with 817 Hummingbird Lane, the owners. The other one is at 1689 Woods Road, which is just which is out at where the access to Woods Road Beach is. That property is split into two. There's a portion of the property on the west water side of Woods Road, and the portion on the larger portion on the east side of the road is where the main house is built. The owners had difficulty finding productive well sites on the east side of the road where the house is located. And we've had discussions with them about their desire to dig a well on the west side of the road and have their service cross the municipal road in order to provide water to the house. So that was agreed to, and the condition that they would enter into a legal easement, and all the costs would be borne by the applicant. So we're recommending also that a legal easement be granted for the water line that that property needs to obtain water from their well on the other side of the road. So that's those are the two easement agreements that we're hoping to clear up tonight. If there's we've attached some existing information. I do have some additional information that would clarify, particularly the rock wall at Hummingbird, if there's questions that need to be answered.
Yeah, thank you. That's great, Graham. The second one, I certainly don't have a problem with, and the agreement is very well written up, et cetera. And that's probably not something that council has to deal with in the future, but that would be my consideration. The other one is very odd.
Yeah.
Drawing, that's all we have, right? So we've got 40-foot area in there with a rock wall.
Yeah, well, maybe let me just share my screen and
okay,
and then so can you see that?
Oh yeah, okay, that's better.
That's a little better.
All right, so here's Hummingbird Lane.
Yeah.
There's a rock wall here that supporting the driveway to 813 Hummingbird. There's a rock wall supporting the driveway to 821 Hummingbird, and this is the rock wall that the applicant from 817 Hummingbird is seeking a legal easement for. So I can show you some photos. This is that wall here, and this is the driveway going down to.
We haven't got any photos.
Oh, you can't see the photos?
No, all we're seeing is the map.
Okay.
I think you need to stop sharing. There you go.
All right, let me try this again.
They have to all be in one file, so you have there. We
yeah.
go.
Okay.
So this is that wall. This is the driveway in down to 817, where they're proposing to build a garage. That's the wall there. It's been there since 2002.
Okay.
And that's the that's what they're seeking to essentially have a legal assurance that it. I mean, we've told them verbally that there's no plans to change it, and they're requesting a legal easement.
So the actual paved surface of the road, is that where that red truck is?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so the road allowance, it's another one of these, yeah.
Yeah, the road allowance.
Dedicated but unbuilt and really unmarked, yeah.
Well, I mean, the road allowance extends a fair ways east of the asphalt edge in this case, yeah.
Okay.
Gary, if I may.
Yes, absolutely. Go ahead.
Gary, because I know this area, I live just up the road.
Yeah.
This particular set of driveways merits a special architectural award but to how to be contrary and confusing. And thank you, Patrick, for helping the owners trying to sort their way through this. It is, I can't believe that anything could ever originally have been constructed in this manner, but nevertheless, this is what they're faced with. And they're trying to regularize their property, and I know they would appreciate your support, and certainly bearing in mind what it is they're trying to do. I hope council can support this effort as well, because they really do face. If you just look at that diagram, I mean, it is just incredibly confusing. The backwards and forwards, and the crissing and the crossing, and the slight change of heights there. It is awkward, and there are quite a lot of youngsters on both sides of that street. And I mean, It's, you know, youngsters, it's not perfect. It's far from perfect. So I appreciate on behalf of people who live down there, some attempts to regularize this, normalize it, and set some proper detailing in place and some proper paperwork in place, and to help them get this organized. I think they're just trying to do their best with what is a really quite convoluted and difficult situation. So I speak in support of them, and I know they're glad of Patrick's help.
All right, thank you, Michael. Allison?
I was just looking, I was going to read the recommendation, but I'm looking at the one that's in the council agenda package versus the one Patrick has in his report. And the one in the council agenda package talks about an encroachment for 817 Hummingbird and an easement agreement for Woods Road. So should they both be easement?
They should both be easement agreements.
Okay.
My understanding is that encroachment agreements are for something that is more temporary in nature.
Yeah, okay, so I will move that council direct staff to enter into an easement agreement with the owners of 817 Hummingbird Lane, and that council direct staff to enter into an easement agreement with the owners of 1689 Woods Road.
Okay, I'll second that if you haven't got one. Yeah. Any further discussion? Don't know if I see everybody here. Thank you, that's better. If not, I'll ask the question. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the other question that Patrick had was, how do we feel about these? You still like them to come to council?
Not me.
Stamp on them? David, sorry?
No, these are technical in nature, not political, as far as I can see it. You know, I would go by staff's judgment. And when things rub into political areas and need to come here, but I don't see this as having any political elements, unless I'm just not planning it properly.
All right, Sue Ellen?
Thank you. It does seem technical, and of course they've been there since 2002, and I don't have any problem with these ones passing, but we have had other people building or wanting to build or doing various things, cutting trees, all kinds of things in public road right-of-ways. And I think until we have a clearer policy, which is coming from staff about how to resolve some of the outstanding ones, and maybe there'll be some education that happens around with that. I would like these to keep coming to council, partly just so we're aware of all of the work that could use some clearer policy, or at least the situation. It just takes us a few minutes at a council meeting, and I think the benefit is there also for the community to see.
All right, thanks, Sue Ellen. Rob?
Yeah, I'm sort of dovetailing on Councillor Fass's comment. I think that line, where does it become political, where doesn't it? I'm not sure where that is right now. I think it probably warrants a bit more council discussion before we just sort of carte blanche say we're out of that, looking at those things. So I'd feel a bit more comfortable knowing where that line is. Right now, I don't know where that line is. How big of an issue, how big of a project are we going to say, don't worry about this, but do worry about this? So I'm uncertain right now to do that.
Okay, thanks, Rob. Allison, final,
Yeah, well, I guess my whole question was if this is a council responsibility to enter into an agreement, then we may have to have something more formal than just a casual conversation at a council meeting about delegating that authority to staff. I'm just not sure of the process.
No, this is just a straw poll, really, to see what direction to go in.
So maybe it can be dealt with as part of developing the policy.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting at is in terms of informing the development of the policy. So, I mean, back in May, we had a situation where somebody built recently a large wall and parking area in a road right of way that wasn't permitted. So that's obviously something that council has to consider. Where we have a situation with fairly simple, like a utility needing to cross a road right of way, or in the other case, a wall that was actually permitted previously, that the owner is looking to have some legal assurance for. So those are kind of three different types of situations. And so I guess it's getting some sense of where that line should be. As Rob said, I was more looking for that as opposed to council agreeing, oh, you don't have to bring these things to council.
Well, that's all going to be covered in the policy as to what you would bring and what you wouldn't. Like, I don't have a problem with the policy saying you can authorize water lines that are built to, municipal standards to run under the road. But the wall one we issued it on an Eagle Cliff. Yeah. So I think that all has to be laid out in the policy. So there's clear guidelines.
Yeah. Okay. Liam, you had a comment?
Oh, I was just going to say exactly what Patrick said, that this was to help inform the development of that.
Yeah, if staff is prepared to develop some kind of a policy and bring it back to council, I think that would be awesome.
Yeah,
I shortcut a lot of paperwork and time. So,
yeah, that's what I meant was one, until we've got a policy in place, I'd like to see them all, but then I don't think in perpetuity we need to see them all. So
no,
thank you.
Exactly. Thank you. Okay, so are you happy with that, Patrick?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, that's good. And we're going to move on to correspondence, which we have none, and reports of committees, COW, and commissions. Minutes of the Heritage Commission. A meeting held May 26, 2021. And the recommendation is from the Heritage Commission that the council write a letter to Metro
So
Bank.
Mayor Ander, there was a revised recommendation in the
Okay,
on-table
thank you.
package.
I
And
don't
then
have it, so if you could
one
put
additional,
it on
it was
the
sent
board.
by email. I can put it up.
Yeah, I know, but I didn't get it.
One second.
Maybe while Hope is getting the revised recommendation, I could begin speaking to it.
Yes, go ahead, Maureen. Thank you.
All right, so I'll start just by giving a little bit of background. Before our last Heritage Commission meeting, I had gotten in contact with Metro Parks to request an update for the Heritage Commission on the Davies Orchard revitalization project. It had been some time since we had heard from them, and what had occurred was the awarding of a significant provincial heritage grant. So we assumed that there was some work that would be progressing and we wanted to be informed. So Metro Parks staff provided us an update with the project, and around about the same time they also had approved some work in the orchard. So there are two of the cottages there, two of the 6 cottages remaining have new roofs on them. So the response that we received indicated that they were proceeding with the work, and also that their intention was to remove one additional cottage, cottage 12, which is behind the Tuscany restaurant.
Okay.
The cottage is currently listed on our municipal heritage registry. It does not have any kind of heritage protection. It's not designated. None of the cottages are, but the commission was concerned that this was, as they put it in the original recommendation, that this was a precedent-setting decision and that Metro Vancouver should not do this lightly. They also indicated that some of them had suspected that cottage would be taken down given its condition. So it didn't come all together as a surprise. So the recommendation came out of discussion at the commission meeting, and it took us a little bit of time to get to that. So subsequent to the meeting, after this recommendation was formulated, I had a telephone conversation with the director of Metro Parks, Mike Redpath, and with Jeff Fitzpatrick, who is some new responsibilities to do with policy and planning for the park system, new division currently. And we also, as a council, had arranged some months ago for council to have a tour of the area, and it kept getting put off because of COVID restrictions. So this morning we had that tour with 5 members of council present and staff, including Leah and Metro Park staff. So council had an opportunity to hear an update on the plan, to hear a commitment from Metro Park staff to ensure that there would be public engagement on the design work that is underway, that there would be public information on the Dorman Point project, as an aside. And we had the opportunity to walk through a number of the cottages. We didn't walk through cottage 12, that was too risky.
No.
But we were able to sort of take a look at it, at least from the outside. So the request in the revised recommendation, we conveyed concern. We requested clarification, which they provided to at least council today. And any demolition is not imminent, which was a fear on the part of the commission, given our delays with building permits and so on. Nothing is going to be moving particularly quickly regarding demolition. So see if I've got everything that I wanted to say at the outset. Yeah, I think I do. So I guess what I want to ask is whether council still wishes to write a letter to Metro Vancouver, or whether events have moved beyond this recommendation. So
I think we've moved beyond it, Maureen. That would be my thought.
I agree.
Yeah. Anybody else? Sue Ellen? David?
Yeah, thank you. I took part in the walkabout this morning, and it was really good to get my questions answered. I had several other ones as well, because I haven't been that involved in the project. And kudos to Councillor Nicholson and the members of the Heritage Commission who've been in there for the long haul and developing the registry and all those other good things. I thought about this after we left. One of the things that struck me was how much of a feature that big Douglas fir is. Living, beautiful, huge tree, not just a feature of the park experience, the park user experience back there in Davies Orchard, but also as you're driving down the hill or walking, bicycling down the hill into the cove, it's a big backdrop for a lot of those buildings on that side of the village. Anyway, it has a huge presence, very significant tree. So I was glad to hear that that tree was in good health, and surprisingly good health. And so then, oh, sorry?
Could you say something about why you're talking about a tree when we're talking about Cottage 12?
Yeah, Cottage 12 is the one right under this big tree that I'm talking about. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Thank you. And so it's the one right behind the Tuscany, and the big tree is behind the Tuscany restaurant. And as you go down Davies Orchard Lane into the orchard, it's the one on your left.
Yeah,
under the huge tree.
Yes.
And anyway, so my first concern actually is for that tree as a heritage feature, in a funny way, thinking about natural heritage as well. And I'm used to the old way of using the word heritage, where it also meant culture and settler history. And of course, there's all kinds of other aspects to the word heritage. I wondered if we might want to make a suggestion, rather than simply leaving it to Metro Vancouver Parks to demolish it, as I gather that's their plan, is whether they wanted to give an impression of that cottage under the tree. And this could be a framework or some kind of artistic impression that I can't think of, some kind of look like just the frame, the outline of a cabin as a ghost, as an impression of the past, an impression of the cottaging, in order to support that clustering attribute, which is one of the key attributes that they hope to maintain in the heritage value of the orchard. So just to identify it as a programming space, as a potential music space, if a roof was to be put on, which I don't think it should be, probably because the tree needs the water and all that kind of thing, although it's not getting it now except off the roof. Anyway, that was just my idea, was whether we wanted to suggest that they make a visual impression of the cottage that was once there. Maybe 20 years from now, it'll be where there will be some high-end virtual reality cottage, or maybe it could be a play area, a kind of house where you could, a cabin that you could climb in the windows, or I don't know. But that was my.
We're not redesigning their program down there, and they were talking about a parking lot in there too. So that's another.
Not under the tree. They weren't.
Not under the tree though.
No, not right under the tree, but where the house. Okay, so no, I think we'll let them do their own design work there. Let's get back to the letter. I think it's the time's to, they've got this pretty well in hand. They're going to go to the public on it, and they realize it's a very sensitive issue, and we'll see what they come out with it. I'm going to go to David and then Allison.
Yeah, thank you, Gary. I think we just need to, they gave us a full explanation of why it needed to come down, and so we just need to give that, whether it comes from us to the commission. Whether it comes from us or it comes from Parks, I'm not sure what's best. But the commission needs to understand that it really comes down to the tree or the house. And as Sue Ellen was explaining, because for those who weren't there, to be able to demolish, to be able to fix that cottage means basically demolishing it and starting over because it's in such bad shape. And in order to do that, you'd end up potentially or almost certainly damaging the roots of this tree.
Root structure, yeah.
Yeah, so those are really good reasons as to why it needs to come down. And I think we just need that explanation. And Maureen would probably give us the best advice as to who it should come from.
Yeah, Allison, quickly.
Well, it was just too bad. Liam took a picture of it so it would show the rest of the public, but you can go and look at it. I mean, you can see the beams sagging. But they've had extensive studies done, and I think they agreed to share a summary of the state of the assessment of the cottage. And I think we all agreed that there was really no way it could be repaired. It would have to be, right down to start all over again almost. Yeah. And
So Maureen, what do you think?
You don't do anything. Nobody moves it, nobody seconds it, and that's it.
Yeah. Okay. Maureen, you happy with that?
I think that actually is a good idea as far as this particular recommendation is concerned. But I always like to follow up meetings of the sort we had today with a letter.
Yeah.
Not the letter that we were asked to write, but with a letter saying, thank you so much. Here's what we heard. This is the timeline you talked about. And we look forward to the public engagement that is planned for the fall.
Ensuing, yeah.
And if we can provide any assistance with your communication plan to make it successful for our community, please call on us. That kind of letter, a confirmation and a door opener.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to draft that on your behalf if you would like.
Sure, that would be great, Maureen. Liam?
I think that's a great idea, Councillor Nicholson, and I think it's also a good opportunity to provide that clarifying point around the differences between phase 1 and 2.
Yes.
Phase 1 is we're not going to see any real change in the landscape it's all about the water, power, sewer structure.
And upgrading some of the cottages that are
And
already
upgrading it.
there. Yeah, that to
Yeah.
spend that grant money they got.
Exactly. But we're not talking about any movements of anything.
No, certainly not. Are you okay with that then, Maureen?
Yeah, and I don't think we need a resolution. We'll just
No, I
send
don't
the
think so
letter,
either.
get it included in the agenda.
I think the message got through there. Okay, we'll go on to new business and 11.1 is
Well, what about the bit about the work plan? Does that need to be approved?
Yes.
So why don't you make that motion?
Yeah, and Hope, could you bring it up? It's not formally in our agenda.
No.
So our work plan is in the agenda, but the resolution just was overlooked.
Okay.
Or can it wait till the next meeting?
If there's significant discussion.
I guess I'm just thinking nobody would have read it.
Oh, they would. The work plan was in the agenda. Did people read it?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, well, I did. Yeah.
There's not a lot of money involved here. And what's the source of that money?
It would be a budget request for the next fiscal year. We were quite careful to make sure that any financial impacts in this year, that there weren't any.
Okay, I see that proposed budget for 2022, yeah. Is everybody okay with that? Does everybody have time to read that? Because there is a commitment to some cash next year.
How much is it, Gary?
It's 58, less than $6,000.
Okay.
But that would be discussed as part of next year's budget process.
Yeah.
That's correct, yes.
So the recommendation is subject to budget approval.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll move it.
Okay, thank you. Second, and any further discussion? You got your hand up there, is that?
I was just moving it.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All right. I think we got everybody there. Hope I didn't have the screen up. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to new business and the CAO update. Liam Edwards, Chief Administration Officer. Liam, it's over to you.
I don't have anything to provide you with this evening.
All right, thank you. And move on to 11.2, update council on Metro Vancouver business. Metro Vancouver Director, David Hockey. Go ahead, David.
Thank you, Gary. I've got a few points. There have been a few meetings. So first one, electoral area A, we had a meeting on, and one of the issues, I think I mentioned in the last meeting, one of the issues there is fire protection. So
yeah.
In between Horseshoe Bay and heading north. Only, it's interesting, the roads are too narrow. There's no water supply for two of them, and only Ocean Point actually would be able to get fire protection from Lions Bay, because they actually do have roads that can take a fire truck and they've got water. So they will be able to, but there are no agreements right now. So they will be developing agreements, and they'll be starting off with Ocean Point. With the other two, they're looking at things like, Allison, you know what these are. I think it's called a level 3 fire truck, a smaller truck, potential of having Lions Bay have smaller trucks that can negotiate little areas. And also, trucks that can carry water.
Anchor trucks, yeah.
So looking at different solutions. So they're kind of on their way. They're starting with one of them, but fire protection over there is obviously pretty important, because the issue is not just the homes, but the forests. It would anything as we've already seen can move quite quickly. A couple of other things. The board approved a letter to regarding CARIP. And suggested we broaden who it was going to, and everybody ended up agreeing to that. I think I passed that on to everybody. But there was it was also then delegated to the Climate Action Committee to see what were we looking for in a new CARIP. And so in the Climate Action Committee, which was a few days ago, we had some recommendations on that, and it was pretty good. I think I sent it to Bonnie, I think. To see if there are any suggestions, and Liam. But basically what they're saying is any replacement to CARIP should, rather than be grant-based, should be ongoing funding, so that you can plan things and so on, rather than get a nice grant and then or get nothing. And that also that the emission reduction should not be just for zero carbon from the municipality's operations itself, but should relate more to the community as a whole. So anyway, there will be more letters going from all kinds of municipalities on CARIP. So presumably something will happen on that. One more thing, there's public consultation. They've done one phase and another phase is about to happen on open burning. So since we had a bit of a fuss about burning in fireplaces last time, this is just about land clearing and backyard burning, basically. It was a complicated report with 8 attachments, and by the time I got to the 8th attachment, I couldn't figure out what was what. And what I wanted was to have it all simplified. So here's what's like for backyard burning, for instance. When's it allowed? When's it not allowed? Their approach is to simplify the whole thing for open burning, so that instead of getting a permit for every single time you burn, if it's a big burn, that you would get a permit from at the beginning of the year saying, I'm going to be doing some burning this year. These are the kinds of things I'm going to be doing, that sort of thing. Anyway, there will be public consultation going on for that. So we'll see more about this. And I've asked for it to be turned into sort of a simple table or chart. So you can see what's allowed, what's not allowed in terms of the simple things like backyard burning or bigger burning where you're doing land clearing, which is the kind of thing we do see here. So more will be coming on that, but I'll keep you informed and I'll give everybody a chance to go look at it or to see it when it comes wandering by, probably late summer or fall. Okay.
Okay, thank you, David.
I think that's it. Okay, for people like Allison who really want to do everything and look at everything, there is another organization called the Fraser Basin Flood Management Strategy Leadership Committee, which I am on. And we're working on so there's floods going up the river and coming down the river because of climate change. And this is going to be a big budget item because there's billions and billions of dollars at risk. And it's homes, but of course it's also the communications infrastructure, the roads, the trains, the electricity, and so on. So there is going to be a public presentation on where we are on this on June 29th from 9:30 to 12. And anyone can go and have a look at this to see where they are. And this will be going to the board later on in the year. So if anyone, put up your hand right now if you're interested, and I will send you information on this. If not, don't put up your hand and I won't send you the information. I'm seeing no hands. Allison.
Allison.
I've already had the invitation to the event.
Okay, Allison.
Okay, then, fine.
That's it from me. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, David. We're going to move on to 11.3, which is a House Sound Ocean Watch Action Committee request for local government financial contributions. Councillor Fast, you want to read that recommendation, Suellen?
Sure, and I'd also just like to spread the good word that Ruth Simons has let us know that the Howe Sound Biosphere has gone through step 5. So it's one more step until officially recognized that Howe Sound Alkitsum will be one of Canada's latest biosphere reserves. So these spread all over Canada and all over the world, biospheres. It's a UNESCO program and based on sustainability and communities working together with data. So with that, I'll just say stay tuned for September when we'll get the final word. And I'll read the recommendation.
Thank you.
Okay. Whereas Council endorsed participating in the Howe Sound Ocean Watch Action Committee at its November 9th, 2020 meeting, and whereas Council contributed $810.24 per year towards phase 1 of the Howe Sound Marine Reference Guide between 2018 and 2021, therefore be it resolved that Council commit to $711.15 per year for 5 years as Bowen Island Municipality's contribution to production of phase 2 of the Howe Sound Marine Reference Guide, which is in the report. The report is linked to there, which will be under the purview of the Alkitsum Howe Sound Biosphere Region Initiative Society, and that Council directs staff to include the budget provision in the 5-year financial plan for 2022-2027.
Okay, I'll second that. Any further discussion on this? Okay, I'll ask the question. All in favor? Aye. Okay, Allison, was that a yes? Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Update to council on the Island Trust business. And that's the Island Trust Municipal Trustees, Fab and Kale.
Would you like to go first, Michael?
Yeah, by all means. Just to say that you'll see later on the correspondence, there is the Island Trust statement on the review, and I let you read that one. I think it's straightforward. I think we covered the majority of that at the ministers' meeting today. Also tomorrow, I sit as part of a group of people who are looking at the new policy statement, and we'll see, if you like, the very first, well, not the first, actually the second, but a new policy statement bylaw briefing tomorrow, which will give some indication on the new policy statement. And Sue Ellen, not still, you can chime in with me on this one too, please, because we've been in conversations on this for a long time. And I think at last, whether approve or disapprove, something now is coming out which we can actually really have a good look at. And it'll be the first, probably the most considered draft so far. And it will be up for our meeting as part of the Trust Programs Committee tomorrow. So between 3 and 6, we'll be going through it. And I think you sometimes attend those meetings or look in on those meetings as well. But it's the first time I think I've really seen something from a sort of A to Z perspective that I can say, okay, I can see where it's going. Now I can see with items that I'm happy with or like, or ones that, maybe I don't, but we're getting there.
So I'll just follow up. Yeah, Michael's on the Trust Programs Committee, and they are taking the first look at the first reading draft of the trust policy statement. So this is an update or a review, like an OCP review. After 20 some years, we talked about it a little bit today with Metro Vancouver, because they're doing the regional growth strategy review and called Metro 2050. And this is called Islands 2050. Anyway, so very similar. And I get also been through 2 years. Now they've taken all that public input that they gathered earlier, including back in September of the previous year because of COVID at the library, and people talked to them on the ferry, all that kind of thing. They've taken all that public input from First Nations, input from other partner organizations and trustees, and their own staff expertise, put it together into a draft. Trust Programs Committee looks at it tomorrow, and then it comes to a special meeting of Trust Council on July the 8th. If anybody's interested to see the rundown and the initial discussion, we'll see if it passes first reading, then it's on to the next stages. Thank you. I have a couple more things, just that we had Trust Council last week, and that we're going to be there's a couple more things, 12.12 and 12.11 in the info items. That's enough. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sue Ellen. And Allison, have you got your hand up, or is that from before?
No, I just wanted to say, I think the news release that Michael was referring to when he was talking about seeing under correspondence is actually 12.11 sub B. It's to do with the governance review. One would never expect from the title of the news release that it was a governance review. So it's the trust news release, re-strengthening our ability to preserve and protect compressed. And I think there might be more information on the governance review there. I think that's what Michael was referring to, correct?
Yes, and thank you. You're quite right. Looking at that title, it was a little bit of ambitious writing. It kind of
isn't that what your group undertook that effort for, Michael?
Yes, yeah, it is, and it was an agreed statement. But it doesn't actually tell, it doesn't talk about governance. It doesn't talk about management. It talks about what it is. I'm not arguing with it, but it probably is a little light on details. And that
Well,
I
I
think
just
can
wanted to
overcome.
raise it because I didn't think people looking would have a clue that what the governance review was what was being covered by that title.
And that's quite correct. That's my opinion as well.
Okay, let's not belabor that. Okay, so 11.5, the update to Metro Vancouver Regional Parks Committee. Councillor Nicholson. Maureen, away you go.
Yeah, thank you. Our next Parks Committee meeting is going to be this Wednesday. And one of the delegations at the Parks Committee will be from the Canada Pacific Trails Association. And these folks are people who have used mountain bikes, my understanding, to go through essentially obstacle courses. They were responsible for building many, many kilometers of trails at Belcarra Park, and their lease with Belcarra with Metro Park has been cancelled. So I circulated by email a couple of days ago a story interview with the fellow who's going to be making presentation at Parks. And there are 2 pages, a 2-page submission in the Parks agenda for this Wednesday. And I'll circulate that as well to council, because there's some interesting parallels between what is happening there and some of the concerns we have about motorized vehicles on Crown Land, on Bowen.
Very interesting, Maureen. Thank you. Sue Ellen?
Just that I think they are motorized vehicles. Those trial riders, I believe they're motorized.
Yeah, it wasn't clear to me in what I just checked. The key thing was obstacle courses, and apparently there are some stretches of those trails that are very, very damaged, and that's what Parks has responded to. And the members of the association, after having used those trails for 50 years and having had their lease cancelled, are angry, I guess is the way to put it. So to be continued.
Certainly disappointed, yes.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for that, Maureen. And an update to council on TransLink Mayor's Council meetings. Councillor Alison Morse.
I'll mute myself here. We met on May 27th, and it was the first meeting we've had where there have been no public delegates. So that was very interesting. We're got a review of some of the engagement results from the phase 2, and but the most interesting part was just a report on ridership recovery. And they launched the annual ridership review program, and I haven't been able to download the full PDF to read, but it was interesting that one of the results, Transit's ridership levels are consistent with or above larger North American metro areas. In September 2020, they had 17 million system-wide boardings, which was more than transit systems in Boston, Chicago, and Washington. So, you know, it's so we've got a good system. We haven't lost the ridership that some of the other communities have, and ridership patterns stayed the same through COVID with reduced ridership. But you know, the top 10 routes occupied before COVID were still the same top busy routes after COVID, or you know, during the September to December period last year. So it's on the website, on the TransLink website, and you can go and have a look at it. And I'll try and get the full download on each of the routes downloaded so that I can send that around.
That's interesting, because didn't they think they were going to lose a whole bunch of ridership?
Oh, they have. They've lost a whole bunch of ridership. That's yeah. no question. But but we were still had better ridership than some of those others big cities did, and the actual ridership from sort of Delta and White Rock has rebounded faster than some of the other areas, which is interesting. Yeah.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Super. All right, thanks, Allison. And get my screen up here. I'm gonna go to move to a closed council meeting. And the recommendation is the council move to a closed council meeting immediately following the regular council meeting to discuss items pursuant to section 90-1 A, E, G, I, and J of the community charter. And I'll move that. Second, please. All in favor? That's David, and all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Everybody, okay, thank you. Information items down to question period. Do we have anybody out there that might have a question? I don't think so. And on that note, we will adjourn, and we're only 10 minutes late, which is amazing.
Caught up, which is fantastic.
Yeah, super duper. And we'll move to the closed. I guess we got to go back in. Hope.
Please.
5 minutes, everybody. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, let's take 5. Let's redo